As a seminar group, we were tasked with making a short film by interpreting a bare-bones script called A Girl and a Gun, and film the entire film inside a studio. This meant we had to think about set design on a whole new level, as well as using flats, which are the set walls, doors, and windows. The original script had minimal scene description and dialogue, so we had to interpret the script in terms of time era, character motivations, relationships, and locations. In our first production meeting, we boiled the interpretation of the script down to two ideas, and we had to vote for the one we wanted to go with. One idea was to interpret the script in the Western genre, and the second idea was a thriller/action genre film set in the Cold War. The vote was cast, and the Cold War idea, which was the one I voted for because it seemed more realistic, won the majority. The inspiration for this idea was from the TV show The Americans, and the decision influenced the character's performance and costume in the production. During the script development stages, there was a lot of discussion about where in the body David would be shot and what happened to the bullet. Originally, it was going to be a flesh wound with the bullet going all the way through, but we thought this wasn't severe enough. We then decided it to be a neck wound, but Charlotte wouldn't need to say "let me see" while ripping off his clothes, so we changed it to a leg wound, with the bullet shattering inside. However, we then realised this would be difficult to film because she would need to rip off his trousers, so we settled for a stomach wound with the bullet shattering inside. This made the production a lot more doable for the actors and makeup artists in the final film. Throughout the development of the script, I made a few small changes to the dialogue. They were minor changes, but made a significant impact on the film. I changed the dialogue from solving to cracking, when the man and David are talking about Charlotte being the best at cracking the codes. The part where Charlotte identifies the Russians by the mere fact they have Makarovs wasn't really cutting it for me, so I added in the line, "other than their accents," as anyone could get hold of a Makarov, not just Russians. Although they seem like small changes, they will avoid the audience asking irrelevant questions that will take them away from the story, so the changes had a positive impact on the film. The bare-bones script was one-dimensional, meaning it had no motivations for characters and it didn't establish any relationships between the characters. We decided that the two main characters, David and Charlotte, are brother and sister. This fact alone gives them enough motivation to want to look out for one another, as well as establishing a level of trust, which makes it worse when that trust is broken. It also makes the emotional impact more severe for the audience when David dies in front of his sister. For a short film with a lot going on, the use of exposition was necessary. We used exposition in the dialogue to let the audience know the characters' relationships, but we didn't just want to lay it all out in one go. So we hinted at it not to reveal all the information straight away, because this keeps the audience engaged. From the dialogue, it's clear that there's a lot of history between the characters, but at this point in the script, the audience don't know the relationship. The mention of the mum finally reveals their relationship, and it's done naturally in dialogue, it doesn't sound forced. We decided very early on to switch the roles of who are now Charlotte and David. Originally it was David who walks away in the end, but we wanted to go against the stereotypes of men being stronger by making the lead a female. Because of this, we needed to show that Charlotte's character was the perfect soldier, someone who is the best at her job, punctual, and follows orders without question. This can be seen in the office scene. She talks very briefly and to the point. The audience also knows she's a professional by her appearance, which is a formal suit and her hair is in a tight bun. The costumes used for all the characters are typical conventions of an action thriller, which sets the tone of the film to be professional atmosphere, making the film more believable. The villainous character, Man, is inspired by Dr. Brenner from Stranger Things, because of the feeling of mystery he has and the power he has over other characters. We decided against the plot twist to make him the father of the two agents, because although this would have opened up a flourish of backstory potential and motivation, it seemed too cliché. The choice to use a golden gun for the main villain was a metaphor to ensure the audience knew that the antagonistic man was a top dog agent. David's character is empathetic towards his sister, but he has a dark past. This is revealed by exposition when he's dying. He's the one making all the bad choices, taking all the wrong jobs, and it's normally his sister who has to clean up the mess, being the better of the two agents. This enforces the idea that they have a lot of history working together. The design for this production was by far the biggest hurdle because there were numerous implications and setbacks along the way, one of them being uncertainty regarding the flats. The flats played an extremely important role in the film because it was all in studio and the set design was the only reference to location. We soon noticed, after building the set for the office, that the window flat was unconvincing for the scene. Instead, we reorganised the set to have a flat missing. We draped curtains either side to further sell the effect of a window. The green screen was placed behind the gap so it could be keyed out in post and made into a high-rise window. During the filming, the green screen had to be lit up and the two sparks pulling tension either side of the pleated curtain to take out the creases. This was done because the colour of the screen needs to be consistent to avoid complications in post. The decision to do this was a good one because we already used the window flat for another scene and we wanted each scene to look dramatically different, and the high-rise window will really help sell this effect. We decided to wallpaper the flats because we thought it would look more realistic than painted flats. We had multiple rolls of wallpaper, 4 buckets of paint, grey, brown and green, rollers and brushes, all to paint the interior of the safe house. I helped paint the wallpaper for the safe house scene because in some of the meetings there wasn't much to do for a grip apart from go through the blocking with the directors, which I already did, so I wanted to help out in other ways. We painted the wallpaper grey and then did brown and green parts near the edges to look old and decaying. It was difficult to paint because of the wind, but we overcame this by weighing down the wallpaper with weights. I also experimented with colour mixing, so we knew which was the best way to paint the mould convincingly. I experimented with different methods of application, but found that dabbing it on was the best method to achieve this look. When the time came to put it on the set, we unrolled it and used drawing pins to secure it on the flats. I think the idea to use wallpaper was good, but the practical application proved to be a challenge. We had to use step ladders and drawing pins to secure the wallpaper, which held it in place, but in hindsight it would have been better to stick them on with adhesive because they looked a bit baggy. Many props were needed to make this film look believable. It took a few weeks to get all the props together, including units like desks and bookshelves, which, as the grips, Louis and I built. We made an error with the first bookshelf by putting one of the shelves on the wrong way, but we decided to leave it because the top of the bookshelf wasn't going to be in shot. We had to improvise a hammer out of the props because we didn't have one. Using the bottles was an effective method of hammering in the nails. This was the last day to get things organised for filming, so everyone was busy helping each other build sets, apply wallpaper, and position the props. This made the production run very smoothly from the start because everything was ready to go. The first thing that I had to do was set up the track and dolly. Louis and I had practiced a number of times in previous production meetings, so we could do this quickly. In a previous production meeting, I practiced pushing and pulling the dolly while I had 2 crew members and a camera set up on it. I practiced this until I was happy with my speed and consistency, as it's easy to push it with a jolt at the start, and keeping a consistent speed is important for the professional look of the film. I practiced because I didn't want to slow down the process of the filming because there was problems with me achieving my roles as a grip. The opening scene was CGI based and therefore needed a green screen room to make it possible. I was required to set up the track and dolly for the shot, and working closely with the CGI editor, I helped position all the necessary objects in the shot. 2 wooden pallets stacked on top of each other acted as the bottom of the vault door. They were not being shot, but after editing, it would look like the characters had to step out of the vault. As well as this, a piece of wood was placed to reference the vault door, so the actors wouldn't go through it. Interacting CGI with reality makes it a lot more believable. After doing this take, I had to move the track and dolly on the other side of the scene in order to get the back of the character's action. This footage is going to be overlaid onto the surface of the vault and is going to act as the reflection of the characters on the vault. This will also help add realism to the shot. There was no big issues with the directing of the actors, because they all had one-to-one meetings with the directors both before and the day of the shoot. The times the actors needed direction, for example when Charlotte's Norwegian accent was coming out too strong, were quickly corrected. The director gave suggestions of typical British sounding curse words like bloody to help the situation, and this was effective. The group dynamics were successful because everyone followed the hierarchy system. A professional atmosphere was maintained throughout the day. We were instructed by the director to wear black clothing to avoid any light bouncing off the clothes and affecting the shot. As well as this, we had to take off our shoes whilst working on set during the filming because the noise from our shoes will interfere with the audio. As a grip, I couldn't have really done a better job because no shots needed to be redone because of me. I also kept the filming on schedule by being even faster at building the setup than I had practiced. My contribution kept the film running smoothly, especially towards the end, when the action of Charlotte kicking the table over to avoid being shot wasn't working out. The table would flip all the way around, and it took a long time to reset it, so there was time wasted. I suggested that the actor roll under the table instead. Although this idea wasn't used, it inspired the director's decision to make her dodge the bullet. I think it would have worked out better if we filmed on location because, in my opinion, the studio is only necessary when the location isn't available, for example a space station. However, we worked well with what we had and the final film had minimal setbacks. I enjoyed working on this film, although my roles were limited to a grip. However, I did help out in many other areas, for example script development stages and set design.